quote, "A jam band is a group of smelly men who can't write real songs." Phish, a four-person group now in its 30th year of giving bong boys a reason to get off the beanbag chair, is one of those bands.
If Mike Gordon doesn't make you shake your ass, then there's something wrong with your ass.
100%.
And then as soon as they hit the first note, everyone starts dancing like a flash mob. Like everybody's rehearsed this before. And we're just and we're
Phish is one of the more divisive bands that you'll come across. People feel very strongly about them. They love them. They hate them. But what we're going to do today is we're going to defend our boys over at Phish. I think we don't have to, guys. If you hear criticism and you're like, that's pretty fair, I'm not going to touch it, that's fine too. But I do want to set the ground rules before we walk through some of the internet's harshest feedback that has ever been leveled at Phish. I also just want to just talk a little bit about where we're coming from. None of us, unless you guys are leading a secret life that I don't know, is on tour with Phish, following them around. You're not a fan, PHAN, or a Phish head necessarily, to the extent that we haven't been to 120 shows. It's been a long time since any of us have seen them live, but let's get a little bit more specific than that. And I'll just say this band was very important to me back in the 90s, even into the 2000s. This was a formative band for me. I listened to a lot of their studio material. One knock you hear about Phish is like their albums are garbage, but it's their live show. And I was kind of like, I'm way more familiar with their albums than I've seen them live, just because I was young when I found them, and it was harder to get out to find them and go see them live. Over time, I don't really throw on Phish that much. I've cooled a little bit. When I hear people make jokes about Phish, I feel like I kind of chuckle along a little bit, but it's only because it feels like a family member that I know and I can kind of rip on a little bit, right? It's like I have a history with them. I have a lot of respect for them, and that's why I'm prepared to defend Phish against some criticisms, even though I might laugh a little bit at some of these criticisms. But let's, Ethan, tell me about you, buddy. Where are you at in your Phish fandom?
So I really liked Phish. There was a moment in time where I was like, yeah, these guys are great. Like, I still respect the musicianship of it all, if you will. Like, talented musicians, wonderful, great. I've seen them live. They put on a great show. I don't particularly care to hear 8 songs at a 2-hour concert, which is one of the things where I was like, yeah, okay. I happened to marry a huge Phish hater. Riding in the car one day, and I'm like, it's been a little while, but throw Farmhouse on. See if I remember what this is like. Because I'm thinking, I'm going to see what her reaction is, It's like, this is the most approachable, like radio friendly. I used to hear this at work, So I throw it on, and it's like the immediate, like she smells something, It's like, what is this crunchy stuff? And I'm just like, never mind, and click. Go to the next track and see what's okay. Here we go. There was a time where you had to listen to Phish if you wanted to hang out in Seth Sparks' basement.
Yeah, sure, man.
I mean,
I was serious about it.
I remember listening to Hampton Comes Alive, on repeat. It was like a 18-disc album, and it was 12 songs. I don't know what else to say other than that. Like, there was a moment in time where I was like, I love this 16-minute jam. And there's like, I woke up the next day and I was just like, geez, in the song already.
Well, here's what I was going to say is Phish was very important in Seth's, formidable in his playing guitar in those days of learning guitar and listening to music. Phish was very important to Seth. So Phish became very important to me also, because we all spent so much time together that anything that became really important to one of us, we made sure it was going to be important to somebody else, or at least, give them all the opportunities, and
you're going to hear it.
Yeah, they're going to have to hear it when they're
probably
going to
have to like it eventually.
Yeah.
And
You'll cave eventually.
so I would say Phish was very important to me too. I mean, I would say there was a time that I would consider them one of my favorite bands, definitely in the top 5. And we discussed some music, some early 90s grunge music where I remember, Phish was a very important played a very important role of saying, okay, well, the radio and MTV isn't offering me what I'm craving anymore,
Yeah.
because this music has given me a palate to where that doesn't satisfy my cravings anymore. So Fish played a huge role in that, because once we started listening to Story of the Ghost and then some of their older albums where there's just this amazing musicianship displayed, we're like, oh my gosh. And just songs that came from out of the box, songs that
Mm,
came from a different galaxy and a different planet, structured in a different way. We're like, oh, okay. So you can do super cool, catchy songs that aren't 3-minute structured songs where it's verse, chorus, verse, bridge, chorus,
Mhm.
chorus, whatever. And so I would say Fish was huge for me. And then there was this point where I was like, one day I woke up and I was like, I don't like jam bands anymore, including
mm,
Fish, and then just didn't listen to them for 6 years. and then and then one day a Fish song comes on. You're walking around in Six Flags or something, and a Fish song plays, and you're like, "Holy crap! I forgot they existed." But this is awesome.
Yeah.
And then you give them a second chance. And I here's where I'm at in my Fish fandom today: is I will still listen to Story of the Ghost start to
Mhm.
finish and be like, "This rocks and is
Yeah.
amazing."
dude, we did a thing where we listed Josh, you and I listed our top 50 like rock bands of all time. And I mean, they were number 17 on your list. They're in your top 20. So I mean, I think that like so I love that we kind of have a mix here, but we're all on the Fish side, I would say is safe to say. Maybe. I don't know. I don't want to speak for everybody, but I'm that way. Josh, I think you're that way. Ethan, you're also like you have a history with them. We're we're gonna do our best. Look, guys, people say bad things about Fish. Okay, people say really awful, mean, nasty things about Fish, and sometimes they're funny. Sometimes they're not funny. They're just kind of mean, and I don't know if they're true or not. But we're gonna take a look at some of the worst ones that I found online. Yeah, man, you all made some good points. I I think that Fish's material is they're known for being a live band. We listen to their albums a lot. You mentioned
Mhm.
Farmhouse, Ethan. Story of the Ghost, Josh. You mentioned that one. That these are albums I know really well. I know Billy Breathes really well.
Yep.
Billy
I
There's a
Breathes
lot of
is
I
really cool
amazing.
stuff.
I actually listened to Billy Breeze all the way through not too long ago because I was just like, "Oh yeah, I forgot about this album," and
Yeah,
I went back and just listened to the whole album. I was like, "Man, that's great!" You
It's
know?
yeah,
still really good.
Yeah, those albums are really good. I just don't want to sit through a Fish concert anymore.
So
right.
that's funny that Seth brought that up, that the stigma with Fish is, oh, they're a live band. Like
Yeah,
their studio albums don't really do them justice. I
I'd rather
think
listen to
I
his
am
albums.
totally the opposite. Or I
Yeah,
don't think,
yeah,
I know I am totally opposite.
yeah, absolutely.
I will sit with their records, but I don't really want to go to their concert necessarily.
guys, I think we're the only three people on the planet who are like Fish's albums are better than their live shows, but
Yeah.
here we are all on one episode together here. Okay, so I do think that their albums are pretty good. Especially like I will go to Junta. I'll go to the early stuff because it's way
Mhm.
more complex. It's like if you get some people who like that nerdy, like okay, this is going to be really unconventional but really heavily technical musically. Anyway, I think that's the thing that you hear most. You're going to hear a couple criticism in here that might go after their musicianship a little bit, but I think that mostly people are going to say to you, if they're critics of the band, they're going to be like, look, they're great players, but well, let's not spoil it. Let's dive right into some of these criticisms people level at Fish. I'm going to start off with a quote from an article that was written in 2013. By the way, 2013, a real lightning rod year for Fish hate. and Phish defense. I don't know what was going on, but there were a lot of internet wars out there. This was written by Benjamin Shapiro, and to the best of my knowledge, this is not Ben Shapiro. This is
Okay.
Benjamin Shapiro
Okay.
in Vice in 2013. The name of the article is Phish has been a band for 30 years now, and they have sucked the whole time. That's the lead. That's what we're starting off with. One of the first quotes that I wanted to read that I want us to litigate and try to defend against. Okay.
What a way to start your periodical.
Yeah. And no concern about the length of that. It's like that's almost 2 sentences, but we're just this all needs to be said. So Benjamin Shapiro, the first bomb that I think is worth litigating a little bit is, and who knows, Benjamin Shapiro. This is 12 years ago. He could be Upton Hampton waiting for the next Phish show at this point. I don't know where he's at in his life, but his first bomb that he dropped says, "Quote: A jam band is a group of smelly men who can't write real songs. Phish, a four-person group now in its 30th year of giving bong boys a reason to get off the beanbag chair, is one of those bands." Very funny from and brutal, and not just goes after Phish in this, but he just jam band is in general. And you've all both mentioned at different points in your life dropping jam bands kind of from your listening routine. I remember it happened for me, and I remember the exact moment it happened,
I
which was
remember.
Josh's
I
birthday.
remember the exact moment too. It happened for
Do
me.
you really?
Yes.
You have the exact moment? For me, it was
Josh was with me in
birthday.
mine too.
Really? Josh,
Yeah.
what are you doing to us, man? You're ruining us on jam bands. But it was for your birthday. We went to Rupp Arena and we were in widespread panic. And somewhere during the second set, they were in, I don't know, a 30-minute version of Love Tractor. And I just turned to Josh and I was like, "Do you mind if we leave?" And my brain was just like, I am done. I didn't know it was coming either. It's not like there was a warning sign where it's like, am I getting tired of this? Am I not getting tired of this? I was like, let's go see widespread. I'm sitting there, I'm going, and my brain just flipped. And it was just like, we are done. You need to get out of here. And we did. We left. And I think you were, I think it might have been swimming around in your head too, but we were both tired and wanted to get out of there. So that was the exact moment for me. Where were you with Josh when yours happened?
I have a very similar story to that. Josh and we went to Bonnaroo together a couple times, and then it was like a week after it was like 5, maybe 6 days after Bonnaroo. We were like, Moe's playing in Louisville. Let's go see Moe. And
Yes.
we go to the show, and like, I don't know if I'm still hungover from Bonnaroo or just still tired or what it is, but they get about 5 songs in, and I look at Josh and I'm just like, "Dude, you ready to go?" And he went, "Yup." Like,
Well,
all right. And they hadn't been on that long.
well, they before them Galactic played.
That's
I want to
right.
say they played for like an hour and a half.
Oh
Then
my
Mo plays
gosh.
for like an hour and a half and takes a break and comes back and starts playing.
Yeah.
And we both look at each other. I mean, you said it first, but I looked at you. I was like, "Yeah, man." I was like, I. That's the crazy thing about jam bands is they will outplay you.
Yeah.
Like they're still playing, and there's like 19 dudes still doing their like anti mosh pit, but kind of like a mosh pit dance.
Yeah.
It's like we're just
Yep.
running into each other because we're seeing how much room we can take up. And then and it's just crazy how long they play. So when I got married, my wife likes music and likes going to concerts. And so we would go to a concert, and it's like somebody she's really excited to see, and we paid a lot of money, and they play for like 70 minutes and they're done. And I just kind of look at her and I'm like, "What was that?" I was like, "Is this intermission?" She's like, "Nope." It's like, "That's it." It's like there was an encore, like where everybody's leaving now. And I'm like, 70 minutes, no opening band. No opening band. We just paid all this money. We got 70 minutes. I was like, I remember the good old days. I remember the good old days when we were watching Galactic and Mo and headliners, and We couldn't
Headliners,
even
yeah.
stay for the whole. It's like a buffet. It's like
That was
I gotta leave. I know there's more food up there, but I just gotta push away from the table.
that was my next to last jam band experience. My last one was it was years later. I'm in Nashville at this point, and someone gives me free tickets. Do you want these tickets to go see Widespread Panic at the Ryman? And I was like, okay, I guess sure, it's a free show. Why not? So I dragged my wife with me, and she's like,
Oh
I
no.
don't know. And I was like, no, let's just go. It'll be fun. And we get there, we get there like the second set starting. Like we get there halfway through the show, and Charlie Daniels comes out, and they do like
Oh,
Never Went
dude.
Down to Georgia, and they do a couple other old country songs. I was like, this is awesome. And as soon as he steps off stage, I was like, are you ready to go? Because I'm ready to go. Let's get out of here. We left. I was like,
Yeah, man.
nope,
Widespread's
nope.
a different scene altogether too, and it's like it's just has a different vibe when you go see Widespread. I don't know if that and it's fine. I don't, it's like
Yeah,
look, most jam bands, it's not you're not going to see, metal bands or whatever, but
yeah.
yeah,
And
it's a different
Widespread's
scene.
another band like Phish. Like I'll stand by all their albums. Like I to this day, I still till the medicine takes probably my top
Dude,
20 albums. Like
I
that
really
album's
like that
so
album.
good.
It
I don't
is
want
a
to see them
really good
live
album.
again. I don't I don't want
Yeah.
to sit through a live show
I
again.
feel the same way.
Dude, okay, so and this brings me to I think my strongest feeling about Fish in context of all that. I did sour on jam bands. I never quite soured on Fish. I never associated them so heavily with all that, and I thought that they were unique enough from all of those bands that even when I was at my peak, like, man, forget jam bands. I don't want to go see that stuff. I don't want to hear a song forever. I kind of withheld a place to be like, yeah, but Fish, you're cool. You know what I mean? Like I still kind of had that mentality,
Yeah.
and I do to this day. I not only were they, I mean, look, yes, the Grateful Dead kind of set the template for what Fish did, but Fish felt like they were doing, like they were kind of in a league of their own. Widespread fans would, I'm sure, have a huge issue with me saying that, but at the same time, Fish, I mean, dude, no one sounds like that as a band. And I mean, I'm talking to a couple people who like their studio albums. As a band, they made interesting choices that was not always like those jam bands. And look, we all played music together. We love to take a 3-minute song and turn it into a 20-minute song. And even in the moment, I kind of thought, I'm sorry for what we're doing to these people because it can feel a little self-indulgent and it can feel a little like we're just doing this for us. Like we don't, like, no one really needs to hear our 20-minute version of this song, hearing me playing A minor for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, but I do think it's a little unfair to Fish to just be like jam band when a lot of the bands that we're talking about, and no offense to your Moes and your Galactics, Fish is kind of in a league of their own. What do you, is that fair statement for how you all feel too?
Definitely fair. I
Yeah, yeah.
totally agree with that statement.
Mhm.
Okay. Josh, I think that you have another quote from Mr. Benjamin Shapiro in
Can I say real
Vice.
quick that I think that Bong Boys is my new favorite phrase?
That'd be a great jam band name.
Bong Boys.
Bong Boys, just lean into it.
Okay, here's our friend Benjamin from Vice. Their music is not good. If I spent my hard-earned money on Fish tickets and drugs, I'd at least expect the band to utilize their combined talent to make something of value and substance, not just a mushy jambalaya of the Dead, Pink Floyd, and the Sesame Street theme song. End
This
quote.
guy this guy has obviously never been to a Fish show because you know that you just have to pay for the ticket. The drugs are free once you get there.
That is true.
And this guy, I'm mad at his first statement. I didn't even get to talk about his first one. His first statement is these guys don't even write real songs.
Mhm.
Hmm.
That's the stupidest statement I've ever heard in my life. Who Benjamin, are you the songboard that determines what's a real song and what's a not song? Screw you, Benjamin. Okay, you guys go ahead.
You know what? I think it's the one thing that I always find comical, and you could do this with a lot of bands I like. I mean, we've talked about Blur a lot here, and Blur will veer into a type of music that's ripe for parody. They'll go into the stuff, especially on like Park Life and The Great Escape. It's like carnival sounding music almost. And
Mhm.
Fish isn't afraid to make music that is like sounds strangely innocent, and then mix it in with some other weird stuff. So when you hear someone say something like Sesame Street theme song, that got a chuckle out of me. I think the thing that is also telling about this is like if you are someone who loves, who kind of thinks that maybe, I don't know if there's a taking a stab at the dead in Pink Floyd in that quote, not just a mushy jambalaya of the dead, Pink Floyd and Sesame Street theme song, but I mean, I love both of those bands. If you have a band that can mix in some of those elements, then that's fine with me. And if you want to throw in some Sesame Street
Yeah,
theme
what's wrong
song,
with
I think I'm
Sesame
okay
Street?
with I'm okay with that. So I feel like even though I agree with you, Josh, on the rebutting the first quote. The second thing, it's like, hey, maybe that stew is not Benjamin's cup of tea, but I
Yeah.
get it. I get that. Okay,
Give us
so
another one.
this is from another article that was published in Esquire by Miles Raymer. It is called "No, It Really Is Them: Why It's Okay to Hate Fish." Sort of a play on the "It's not you, it's me." It's
Wait,
no, it really is them.
hang on, hang on.
Yeah,
I just have a question. What year did Fish like get back together?
it was it was like 2000
Was
and
it
so they,
around when these articles were coming out?
no, I don't think
Okay,
so.
okay. That's what I was wondering. Like, oh, maybe that's it. Maybe that's when they got back together.
I don't think so. I think it
Okay.
was a few years earlier, but I mean, I think it was like I want to say it was '08 or '09. If you're watching this on video, I'll put a little thing up that tells when the actual answer is of when they came back. But so maybe it was like they're building steam again. They're getting into it. So I don't know, but it was, dude, this was a rough time. Okay. This is a little longer, but stick with me. Fish has always been extremely open about their influences, but as a group, they seem to have extracted only the least compelling elements for them for their own music. Given the entirety of over a half a century of American pop music to draw from, they've created an assemblage of funk bass lines that do nothing to move the heart or the ass, aimlessly wandering guitar solos, and the skimpiest and least formidable melodies imaginable. This is a common thing that's popping up in Fish criticism, which is a lack of songwriting chops and a lack of memorable melodies. That is a theme that I picked out a lot. I try not to hit it too much on the other ones, just because, but just know that is if there are knocks on Fish, I think that is a constant one. What do you got to say to that?
Look here. The biggest takeaway I have from that is that if this is coming from a person who has played bass for most of his life, if Mike Gordon doesn't make you shake your ass, then there's something wrong with your ass.
Yeah,
I mean, really. I mean, even if you
100%.
like the music, you don't like the music. The bass lines in all of Fish songs, Mike Gordon songs, especially that Mike Gordon Leo Kottke album,
Oh, dude.
like
Yeah.
any bass line he does, you're just like, yep, there it is, and that's
Yeah.
that's the groove. It sets the tone for all their albums. So
100%.
yeah.
Anything to add to that, Josh?
Well, I was trying to think of a melody where, that I could debate that, but it's mind blowing. I think people who write something like this obviously have not heard very much Fish. So they've probably just like latched on to something that is it's like, oh, here's a common theme, and
Hmm.
we'll just go with that. But I don't know. Uh sometimes, gosh, if it's hard for me to think of like a beautiful melody, then maybe there's something maybe there's
That's what I was
something
thinking. I
to
was like,
that.
oh, Miles. Maybe Miles has a
Uh,
point here.
but um, I think there's something to like Fish. I used to tell you when we wrote a song, we should think about writing it as how we wanted to play it on stage or what we wanted to accomplish with it on stage. I think a lot of their melodies um are simple because they can't wait to just get back to playing their instrument. You know what I
Mm.
mean? They're not doing a lot of like we're about to break your heart with these crazy melody lines that we picked with these chord changes, but I guess it's kind of hard to uh defend that statement if I can't think of some beautiful melody off the top of my head. Can you think of one? So I'm like,
So
so,
I think you could look. We talked about Billy Breeze. I think you could look to that album for some pretty memorable melodies. I think of like Prince Caspian. Um, Character Zero is kind of a sing
Character
along song.
Zero,
Then
that's the one I was thinking of.
yeah. I can think of that. There's some interesting stuff
Yes.
in Billy Breeze, and then you even have a song like Stash, right? And on Stash, uh, it's it's only a bit, but there's this sing along part in there that's very catchy, that's very memorable, and it's tucked away in a longer, more complex song with an interesting arrangement and different parts that kind of unfold over time. But they have a lot of like that. Like there are parts of Reba that are like, dude, that's so sing alongable. You know what I mean? It's like one of the 18 parts of Reba.
Yeah.
Um, I think there are cool melodies tucked in there, but I think if you come to the table with Phish and you are thinking songs, because we're talking about albums, and that's different than talking about a song band. I think, I'm not going to back off the point that I think they actually have some legitimate like 3-4 minute pop songs, but at the same time, albums can also have 7 or 8 minute digressions that take you weird, interesting places. And Phish is great at that. If you're a singles person and you go into an album and you're like, where's the single at? It maybe aside from Billy Breeze, you're probably going to struggle with some Phish albums. And even Farmhouse had a couple too, I guess that you can consider. I would say that by the time you get to Farmhouse, I don't know. Maybe I would prefer Billy Breeze over some of those songs, but there's some great stuff on that too. So I don't know. That's kind of my gut reaction to the melodies and the memorable songs part of it.
The melodies are definitely hidden, and
Yeah.
it's like there's a beautiful melody, but it's a tenth of what the song is,
Yes.
So
Yes.
you've
100%.
moved on to something else,
Yeah.
and you're
Now,
making me defend Fish.
do you want to really get mad? Here's one. Here's one that's just pissed me off. This is from an internet blogger. So, it holds a lot of weight. Fish is objectively bad. Trey is a pretty good guitarist who sometimes hits the right notes. Mike is a subpar bassist who still hasn't locked in a good bass tone. Page is an okay pianist. Fishman is a mediocre drummer at best. End quote.
That's tough, dude. That's I
Yeah,
think that's infringing on the one thing that they're actually respected for, even by people who don't like them. It's like some people are like, oh yeah, they're not great, but it's like they're good musicians. It's sort of a default that people give you if they don't like
hmm
Fish. It's like,
Right.
look, they're really technically good. Dude, you can't get down with the bass tone on Down with Disease. That is a locked in bass tone right
yeah,
there.
What in the
Um,
world? And
and I don't
Fishman
know,
is a
a
mediocre
mediocre
drummer.
drummer. What?
What in the world? Dude,
yeah.
he
None of that
does
makes sense.
stuff where other drummers are like, how in the world is he doing that? Or
Here,
at least, how is he doing that for 18 minutes?
yeah. Here's my question: do you think that Fish gets so much hate just because people hate Fish fans?
Yes.
Oh, probably
Yes,
so.
and I think I think Radio has the same problem.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
It's a lot like Radiohead fans, and the fact that Radiohead fans are very like believe very strongly that this is the greatest band of all time, and
Well, they are.
they are the. Yeah. What are you going to do about that? It's objectively true. Just like this guy said, this is objectively true about Fish. Um, and that's I've been that guy who has caught himself and been called out for being like, sounds really pretentious what
Mhm.
you're saying right now, and it was a fair statement. But Fish fans, I don't even think it's that. I don't even think it's a pretentiousness about being like Fish is God's gift to music, but there's such a community and a culture that surrounds it that you easily feel like an outsider,
Yeah.
and can feel intimidating to pierce through this shorthand language that other people talk about. It feels clicky, and it's hard to fault Phish for that, and maybe they foster some of it, but it's like, what band doesn't want a whole group of
Mhm.
people who are so devoted to you that they've like built out their social circles around your music? So I can't really fault Phish for that. And I don't know, who knows? Maybe there is a pretentiousness going on, but I think it more than that, it's this feeling that they're part of something, and it's tough to get in there and feel like you're one of them, you know?
Yeah, I don't think it's a pretentiousness. I think it's more of just a this is different.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and when fish friends try to bring you in, it's not like, "Hey, come check out this show one time." It's like, "Oh, you gotta do this and you gotta do this." Like, you gotta get all the way in, man.
Yeah.
So it can seem a bit intimidating probably.
Mhm.
And all that being said, I think that like we've talked a little bit about widespread, and I'm not gonna like hate on their fan base, but their fan base is more um it's more like dudes who, they work in sales, and they've done that for 20 years or whatever, and they're kind of have like a week off, and they're going to go tour with the Dead, and it can feel a little bro-ish sometimes, not always. I don't want to say that across the board. I'm talking myself into a hole with Widespread Panic fans, but I will say with Phish fans, you go there, man, and it feels like a love fest. Like people, nobody goes in there and has been like, you've never been to a Phish show before. It's not like anybody has that sort of posturing.
Yeah.
People are super nice and welcoming. It's just from the outside until you get to that point, it can kind of feel like, oh, they're in on something and I'm not in on it. And how could I ever get to that? I just want to hear that I like how they sound live.
Yeah.
But once you go there, I think that like the vibe there is always super cool. And I'm saying that as somebody who hasn't been to Phish show in over 20 years. So I don't know.
But do you remember the first fish show we went to?
100%.
That's kinda how we felt.
Yes.
We
Welcomed.
we went to,
Was it
what
Starwood?
was yeah, what
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
You
Starwood,
might have been there
I
too.
was there.
and
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
we were sitting under the roof, and we
You
we
you
had
were sitting in the roof. I was in the grass.
we had never
Huh.
been to a fish show before where I mean, we'd never been to a fish show. We'd never been to a concert before where there was no like MC or like an opening band that comes
Mhm.
out and nobody's saying, coming up soon's gonna be fish. We just get there and it's like there's all this buzz and people are, it's like all this excitement
Definitely a
and
buzz.
the sun is still up and Fish walks out on the stage and as soon as they walk out like the roar is crazy like a professional sporting event like giant roar and then as soon as they hit the first note everyone starts dancing like a flash mob like
Mhm.
everybody's rehearsed this before and we're just and we're we're the only four people standing there standing at our seats and everybody else is just dancing like crazy and we're all like what is going on and we're like so the concert started I guess nobody announced that and then I remember us turning around and looking at the lawn, and the entire lawn is like that, like moving all
Yes.
in one motion, like it's the ocean or something. And I just remember the first song of that Fish concert. I couldn't tell you what song they played, but I just remember watching the crowd like, what in the world is this? Like it's something where everybody else knows what's going on, but I don't know what's going on. Like how
Mhm.
does everybody know to do this? It was just
Yeah.
such a bizarre experience. We must have been juniors or seniors in high school and I'll just never forget that moment just like this is so crazy.
Dude, and you lose your inhibitions in a crowd like that. Like pretty soon you're like, if I'm not moving with the organism and I'm just standing here like this, like it's a Pearl Jam show, it's like I'm gonna stick out like a sore thumb. But it's not because of peer pressure. There was something that was really freeing and liberating about being in that environment because you look around and this isn't Soul Train. It's like these are people that are just as white and as disjointed as we are, and so you just kind of get in there and start doing your thing too, and before you know it, it's like you feel free to do that, and then you go to another show. It's like it's like Josh, you were talking about, like you get used to like 3.5 hour shows, and then you go to one that's like an hour and 10 minutes, and you're like, but then you start going to other shows, and you're like, you're doing that, and you're looking around and nobody's into it, and you're like, well, these losers think you do at a show, it's like you think you figured it out going to Phish. So I think it's a great live experience personally.
Yeah, gosh.
um
I remember when we were ready to go to the second Phish show, it was like, okay, guys, remember how they did it at the beginning? Let's all go over how we're supposed to do it at the beginning again. And then remember how if you're in the lawn when you dance, you have to take up like 12 feet, like a 12 cubic feet area around your person when you dance, like move around. And we had like all these things. Like, it's like, we know what to do now. We're ready for the second concert.
Yeah. Oh, we came in swinging with the second one. Okay, from the same internet blogger that made the comment you made, Josh. Okay. Phish is known for their live shows, but any newcomer who's heard a recording of a live show notices immediately that it sounds like Phish have never played their own songs before. They're sloppy, they miss notes, the singing is terrible, and the jams just too damn long.
Look, here's the deal. I understand where he's coming from in this.
right.
Like, that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, no.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Right.
Like,
It's
I'm
one of
kind
those
the
where you're
fence
like,
I'm like, yeah.
yeah. I mean, we
Yeah.
were just talking about how the songs are too damn long. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I get that. Now, granted, that's why they're there. And look, from a playing perspective, when we would string songs out to 20 minutes, it's so much fun. Like, you get to
Yeah.
go interesting places for us. Now, as a listener, look, these people are all participants. They're willing participants in this.
Yeah.
They paid their tickets. They seem to be enjoying it. I enjoyed it. There was not a time when I was at Phish show when I was, I'd breached my limit for 20-minute songs. But at the same time, dude, that's a fair criticism. Also, it's notable that he says, listen to a live show.
Mhm.
I think there are really, you're going to have to pick and choose when you get to a band that's as prolific as Phish as far as being on the road. You're going to have some off nights, going to have some good nights.
Yeah.
And yeah, I may not love all the live shows, but I do think, I don't know, kind of like, certain sports, it's like being in attendance really helps you put context to the live shows a little bit more than just going in cold and being like, here's a live set from 2010 or whatever. We have what we have. Okay, we have a couple more. We're going to limit this. We could go on and on. There's a lot of shit posting about Phish. But Josh, you have one. Let's cover that one, and I have a short one, and we'll see.
Okay. Phish could urinate in its fans' ears and tell them it's music. I think
This
that
is a
was
famous
from
one.
Entertainment Weekly.
Yeah, this is a famous one because it's actually in a documentary where they Trey reads this on camera, and he even is tickled by it. So I love that one.
So you act like that's a bad thing. I remember being like 28 or 30 and being like, Radiohead could record a 57-minute fart. And I would be like, this is the most perfect flatulence I've ever heard a band do. I'm all the way in.
Yeah.
It's just, I think that just is saying Phish has an extremely loyal fan base. I mean,
Yeah.
that's all I hear from that quote.
Yeah.
Ethan, do you have a couple over there? I think
You
you
know-
might have a couple hard jabs.
I got a good one here. Reddit user describing a Phish jam. Quote, it's like four dads trying to tune a canoe for 30 minutes. Your thoughts, please. What key is the canoe in?
Well, that's what we're working on. We're trying to get it to wherever key it's going to be in.
Do canoes need tuning?
Yeah,
Actually want to see it. I'd be interested. I don't know if I'd pay, $200 to get in, but I'd go spend 30 minutes trying to watch four dads tune a canoe. I might even help out.
Let's go with another one here. This is just a random comment on the internet. Was Phish makes music for people. Excuse me, not poople. Let me do that again. This is. Hang on, let me have another drink of basil. Okay, this is from a random commenter on the internet. It said, "Phish makes music for people who don't like music."
But see, that's silly. I don't see that because Fish's music is like you've got to really like music to like this kind of music.
Yeah, I feel like that sounds like a comment that someone is making about EDM. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
that's the type of thing you make about somebody who's like super into like just like some serious hard hitting house music or something. You know what I mean? It's just like they just like beats. They don't care about music. I think
Right.
Fish's music is very musical. Like that's a key characteristic. There's a lot going on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you don't like music, you're gonna hate this because we're doing it for a long time.
Okay,
Good
so
point.
okay, we've leveled some hate here. I don't know. I'm sure Phish fans, there are a lot of Phish fans out there that would be like, dude, you guys could have done so much better job at defending against them. But I think we did okay. I do think it would help to have a little support. Closing quote from Mr. Dean Ween, somebody, we all love Ween a lot. And this is from Mickey Melchiondo, who is also known as Dean Ween. He was kind of rebutting some of the things that people would say about Phish. They weren't always the nicest about it, especially Gene. I think maybe called them boring once when an interviewer was like, "Hey, Trey loves you. What do you think of Phish?" And that was his response. But at this was several years later, and Mickey would probably kind of been tired of just seeing people, the haters out there on Phish. So he said, "Phish are in this for the right reasons. They'll be around for a long time after you quit whining about your dislike for them." I feel like there you go. That kind of sums it up. Sticking up for Trey a little bit there. Nice to hear that from Mickey. For me, we'll just get kind of wrap things up, get closing thoughts here. Phish, absolutely an institution. They're the type of thing where it's like when you see clips of the Dead or you hear about the days when the Dead were roaming the planet doing their thing, it's like, oh, that was such a cool. It was an institution. It was a cool thing that existed and that happened, even if I wasn't part of it. And I think the same is true for Phish. When Phish finally calls it a day, we'll be like, man, wasn't it cool that they kept it going and that they had this huge fan base and they cultivated this thing. So yeah, I don't know. I am in a place where I'm totally fine with I'm at peace with the fact that I'm not going to go to a ton of Phish shows. Maybe I don't listen to them quite as much as when I was younger, but yeah, man, they're a really unique beast. Nobody puts those words in combination with that music, and you might have a lot of weird moments in the ride that you get when you listen to Phish music, but ultimately you come to a place where it's like, boy, that was fun. I remember when Way was the first Phish song that clicked with me. And it's like this minute and a half of like this cool jazzy thing. I'm like 12 years old. My older brother's playing it for me. And then it drops and he's like, I'd like to cut your head off so I can weigh it. And it blew my mind. It was the most ridiculous thing I'd ever heard in the middle of this like jazzy intro.
What do
And
you
I was on
say?
board. Ooh, 5 pounds. It was so cool. I loved it. I was taken with Phish, and I'm glad I stuck with them. So I don't know. That's about all. That's about the strongest defense of the band that I can make. But any closing thoughts from you all on Phish or your Phish fandom or anything else?
My Phish fandom has been a roller coaster ride. It was started out down here, and I was like, I don't get this at all. And then you listen a little more, and you're like, okay, there's some good stuff here. And then it's like, okay, this is the best stuff ever. And then you're like, I think I'm tired of this. And then 4 or 5 years later, you go back, you listen to an album, and you're like, okay, I get it again. I can enjoy this. I can put this in the background. Let the kids listen to it with me, and they're going to be like, "What's this? I don't want to listen to it. It's horrible." That's all my music. but it's just the way it is.
Fish. I have a feeling Fish is just never going to quite fly at your house.
It's never going to. I've tried a few times. Now it's just like, if I want to listen to it, I'll listen to it on the ride, home from work. Sitting
There
in
you go.
traffic,
Has it taken off in the best household at all? Or do you have some little Fish fans?
Yeah, my kids they're little sponges. They're still at this age where they think dad's cool and anything new is cool. So I can play them some Fish and they're all about it. Yeah, and that's where I'm at. I, if you said, okay, we're gonna do a Fish afternoon, listening to nothing but Fish this afternoon, I'm not mad. And I think, Seth, you made the biggest statement that I totally forgot where I ranked Fish on my top 50 list, but if I still listed them as my 17th favorite band of all time, I think that's pretty telling that I still have a huge affinity for Fish. But with that being said, I think there was still probably a time from 2006 to 2013 where maybe I didn't listen to single one of their songs. It's just,
yeah,
life takes you down different paths and your tastes change and you forget about things and then you rediscover things again. But Fish, I feel like, will always have a place in my playlist.
mm. Yeah. It's crazy how it almost becomes like nostalgic.
Mm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh
And
yeah.
and you can't tell me right now you wouldn't play Reba for somebody
Oh, for sure.
and they would
One
be
hundred
like,
percent.
what in the world is this? Like,
And you're
what
like, just hold
planet?
in,
Yeah.
hang in there to like minute 10 or whatever it is that the breakdown comes. Or if somebody wanted to play Bathtub Gin right now, like sign
Yeah.
me up, dude.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's some of that earlier quirkier stuff is so much fun.
Yeah.
I totally
What's
agree.
what's your guys' go to? Like someone never heard Fish before, and they say you have 10 minutes of my time. What's your go to?
Man, so Josh and I have a couple different theories about this. Josh is more likely to just give them the purest, most undiluted form of this band and let you get the pure representation of them. And
Mm-hmm.
I tend to go with, what are you going to not freak out about if I just play this right now? I'm going to give them the most palatable stuff and like
Yeah.
work them up.
Yeah.
So I think I'm torn between those two mindsets. Do I go the Josh route or do I go my typical, let's work them in? If I'm working them in, we're going Billy Breathes. If I just feel like this person might be ready for something a little crazier, we're starting with Junta, baby. We're
Yeah.
getting it going with You
Yes.
Enjoy
Yeah.
Myself, and we're just getting right into it and be like, can you handle this? Because if you
Oof.
can, you're going to be in for some good stuff.
Yeah. If you can handle that,
I love it.
Then
welcome to
you're
the
in,
ride.
baby.
Like
Yeah.
never hearing it before. If you hear that first, welcome to the ride.
Yeah, 100%.
I
Yeah.
think Billy Breeze is a great place to start because it is those like, oh, this sounds like a song that was recorded with
Mm-hmm.
the intent of maybe it could be a radio hit. It
Mm.
sounds like something I'm a little more familiar with. But I just love the funkiness of a lot of the tracks on Story of the Ghost. I'm like, I
Mm.
would be tempted to just start with like Birds of a Feather.
Mm.
I think that was the first like really approachable album that I heard from them. I was like, that was the one where I was like, okay, I can get into this a lot easier than you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and a
Oh,
lot of
Yeah.
our friends would put in Farmhouse to try
mm-hmm.
to win
Yeah.
people over.
Yeah,
Yeah. And I mean, the thing I think that I first fell in love with was a live one. It's like a good representation of like sort of I know I know it's a live album, but it felt so much like a studio album at the same
yeah,
time. I don't know if it's just the way it was presented or what, but like that one converted me. So I mean, I think you kind of get a good mix of what they're capable of on a lot of different fronts with that. A lot of
yeah.
entry points for Fish.
Yep.
Man, maybe someday we'll pick an album and do a Phish deep dive. We mentioned a lot of them that I would have a great time busting out Story of the Ghost and listening to that from start to finish and reacquainting myself with it, because that used to be on nonstop when it came out. Absolutely loved it, fellas. Thanks for joining me. This is a blast. I needed to get some stuff off my chest about Phish, because they've been off my radar when I was once such a huge fan, and I would still consider myself a fan, even if I don't listen to them as much as I used to. So this has been a lot of fun, and yeah, the haters gonna hate, man. What are you gonna do? You know, people are gonna talk their smack, but you just got to keep doing your thing. I don't think Phish is worried about it.
Yeah, they keep going to the bank every month and being like,
Yeah,
business is good.
yeah, we just sold out the Sphere, 28
Yeah,
times or whatever it was. So I think they're doing fine.
they're doing
Yeah, if you've enjoyed this, if you've watched the video, give us a like. If you're a Phish fan and you're like, that was the lamest defense, and let me tell you why Phish is the greatest rock band of all time, lay it on us. I want to hear it. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. If you'd like to listen to podcasts, we're out there in podcast land. And if you're listening there, follow us. And yeah, we'll talk to you guys again soon.
We're back in 2 and 2.